What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and we are in the airport with my boy Charlie, aka Hunk Solo, with that Pac-Man special. New Pac-Man special here.
Pac-Man special.
We got a top 8 PB Luffy. And how you feel? Yeah, there it is. Look at this. Bro, we got Shanks together. Now we got Ace together, bro. Look,
feeling good.
Dude, out here. Love
this is
that.
awesome. Long waited for, but I'm feeling great.
Yeah, love it. Well, let's go ahead and dive in here because I know everybody's been talking about this deck. So let's see what the spice is.
Yeah, I mean, purple black, the new starters, 7K good leader. Who could have guessed it, right?
Yeah, dude, 7K with Gum Gum Giant is oppressive. Yeah, what about the matchups? Do you have your matchups?
Yeah, matchups. First round was Buggy, went second. Round 2, Purple Kata. Traditionally a pretty difficult matchup for this deck, being mono purple, mono green, and GP are traditionally a little more difficult. I went second there, got that. Lucci, I won the dice roll, went second. Blue purple, Luffy, won the dice roll, went first. And then the first mirror, I won the dice roll and won. The second mirror, guy had Gamma Knife, and he just outed my beer Luffy. Kyle, shout out Kyle, he was also on this deck, and he also got a top 8. It was a great game. And then the last 3 rounds, purple Luffy, Betty, and blue purple Luffy. But super fun day. Played black purple today, and here we'll start off with the list. So consistency purposes, obviously, for law searchers can pick up everything in the deck aside from Gum Gum Giant. But that's where the event searcher comes in. Maximum consistency.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people playing that too. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Really just surprised me just a little bit.
Yeah, and then as far as 3 costs go, start from the cost. Robin, obviously a great addition to the deck. As far as the starter decks go, this card is just awesome because it does the same thing as Zoro, but it has 2K more counter and just 1K less attack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just a very solid card overall. 2 choppers. When we were testing, we tested without chopper for a little bit. But ultimately, I felt like 2 was enough because 1, chump blockers are really good right now in this meta. But 2, just the value you can get off Arrested Dawn and doing certain plays is kind of valuable. It makes some of your plays kind of narrow in a way. But overall, if you can make it work, it's a really strong card, right? And sometimes resting 1 cost can also be good against Betty when you don't want them to swing with their Betty searcher, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't want them to pump it up. It's very helpful in that way. 3.
Only 3.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why, because the little spice that we included in this deck, shout out Justin Choi, shout out Peter Doe. We were testing the past 3 weeks and we were trying to figure out how to make this deck work on a ton of different levels. And we ended up deciding that pudding was ultimately the best choice. We're running Katakuri in this slot for Dawn generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we found ourselves in the 6 to 7 Dawn area for most of the game. And we're like, how do we get more Dawn? Because if we get more Dawn, we can just win the game. And I ended up thinking, like, how did RP Law get a bunch of Dawn, right?
Yeah.
It played pudding, so I was like, let me play pudding. It's got counter, it does what I want it to do. But this is kind of like the heart and soul in the deck when it comes to like high roll potential, because any Dawn -2 card in this deck, whether it's Robin, whether it's Zoro, whether it's Chopper, you're ramping off of pudding, right? One of my favorite lines, on 4 Dawn, you play a Zoro for 3, and you ramp and untap your Dawn, and you have 3 Dawn left over, you can play pudding, right? So on 4 Dawn, you play these 2, and the next turn, any Dawn -2, beer Luffy, right, can ramp you off of pudding. So it just kind of snowballs you. In any game where you get 2, 3, or plus more Dawn value off of pudding, you're in such a dominant position because you're just snowballing out of control, right? It's just a Dawn generation machine, and just like Robin, 3-4 stat line, right? 4K, so it can still swing into Bellows, attackers. It can still swing into a bunch of stuff. So overall, pudding's my go. This was definitely the MVP. And the reason for 3-0, it's just a lot of bricks. when it comes to that kind of stuff. But again, you can ramp off of a ton of stuff. 3 Black Marias, this is the GOAT when it comes to purple matchups. If you for some reason cannot find your Dawn, cannot stabilize, you can use your opponent's ramp against them, right? If you don't ramp but your opponent does, just play this and your turn, and with leader you go up. And if you have Maria Pudding, you can also double ramp that way. So double ramping is very efficient. That's why we kept the rampers at the low cost.
Did you ever want 4 Maria? Did you consider it?
We did consider it, but the list was very tight. So all in all, there's 11 2Ks in this deck. Maria, Robin, and Usohachi. So these are all our 2Ks. Usohachi, like, come on, if you're running a purple Straw Hat deck, you're trolling.
It's the best card.
You're trolling if you're not running 4 Usohachi.
If you're running purple in general, that card is just the best purple card.
It just hits so many stat lines.
It's the best offensive purple card.
Yeah, best offensive at high Dawn count, right? Maybe not if you're, GP, you're not using it as much in that way, but yeah, these were 2Ks. And again, any Dawn minus card, any of these cards here, Chopper, Zoro, and even Frankie, who's traditionally a slower card, you don't really play it early game because it kind of slows down your tempo. Even if you want to fix your hand, there's probably other stuff you want to play. But if you have a Pudding on the board, you can play Frankie, you Dawn -2, you bring the 2 back with your leader, and you ramp up a Pudding. So even Frankie, who's traditionally a slower card, gets a lot more value by Pudding just being on the board, right? It still ramps you if you have Pudding out there. And again, late game scenarios, Frankie just being a blocker and being able to filter out bricks is highly valuable. This is kind of what the deck revolves around. Who knew 7K leader was good?
Dude, 7K leader with Giant, like 6K leader with Giant is insane. Imagine 7K leader with Giant.
Go straight to 11, right? 11 is a crazy stat line to get to, especially because most bodies aren't even that high right now, right? Everything's kind of like mid-range.
Yeah, like
right
we're capping at 9, and that's like on the high end.
Exactly. So Luffy's awesome. Obviously, it gets you to 7K. Your opponent needs to be at 5. So there's some cheeky ways how their purple decks can manipulate on, so you don't hit the 7K on curve. But in a lot of cases, this card still gets a lot of value. Often you would play 2 of these, right? Because if you swing with 1, your opponent's definitely going to swing into this, because why are they swinging into your 7K life when they could swing into your 7K Luffy, right? So often finding 2 of these was very important. But again, this is where Pudding comes in handy, right? You play Zoro Pudding on 4, you go to 7 Dawn, you play Luffy, and because of Pudding's effect, you ramp off of playing this card, right? Which is massive in itself.
How often did Pudding come up in your games today?
Literally, I think just one game, it didn't come up. Every other game, it just built so much value for me. I'd play Pudding, or Zoro Pudding, or just Pudding into a ramper. If I was going second, I'd just play Pudding on 4, play this on 6, go to 9, and then play like a 9-cost Luffy, right? We only have 2 9-cost Luffys in here. The reason why only 2 9-cost Luffys, we were running 3 of these and 3 of the other secret, but sometimes it's a little hard hitting that 9 number, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of built this deck around staying low when it comes to ramping. It kind of like in the mid-range, but once you get to 9, this is a genuine threat that people have to deal with, right? And when you go into 10 Dawn, there's really cool stuff. If you have these 2 on board at 10 Dawn, you can play Luffy for 9, -1, get the Dawn back from Pudding here, swing with this, use your leader. Now you have 2 active Dawn, so you can always put a Dawn on leader for the leader ability and have a Dawn up for Giant while staying at 10 Dawn.
Wait, why would you have 2? Oh, if you had 10.
If you're at 10 Dawn and you play
okay,
Luffy, right? And then you have a 7, an 8, and a 10K swing, which is just so much pressure against so many decks right now. And again, Pudding is the only one that allows you to stay at 10 Dawn, so you can use your Giant minus your 2 Dawn and still be at 10 the next turn, right? So you get so much value from Pudding just being on board, generating that Dawn between these cards. But we felt 2 was right because in some matchups, 10K is a very good stat line, especially against blue-purple.
What matchups do we like that the most in?
Blue-purple, if you can, because against blue-purple, you're generally ramping enough to get to that. And any green matchups where their bodies are a little higher.
Okay.
Sometimes even in the mirror, when people are too busy swinging at this, you can play one of these, and with another Don, you can go 11 into it. So, forcing a giant out of it, or a lot of the counter they have in their hand. But we felt 2 was pretty good, because overall it does draw you a card and it does apply a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as the other Luffys go,
yeah, this is the this deck was, you got a structure deck and somehow it's the most expensive deck out there.
Bro, this card is just so freaking good. You play it, and if your opponent doesn't answer it in some way, it can steamroll a bunch of games, right? It can put a lot of pressure on, especially. And
you have a lot more Dawn. Sorry to interrupt you. You have a lot more Dawn than Green Purple does. So the actual, and you get 1 Dawn back from it without Sanji pudding. So the actual ceiling of it is just so much higher in this.
So much higher, and you can punish a lot of purple decks, especially that don't leave a Dawn up, and don't get rid of this. Obviously, you can swing twice, which is huge. Sometimes not seeing Beer Luffy on curve, just playing 2 of these and having them both survive, you often just win games.
Do you like a line that my friend was telling me was like, with the Beer Luffy, then you play this and you just hit him 7/7/7.
Yeah.
All in one turn.
Yeah,
the ideal 8 is like you go 6 into that and then you go into the Luffy and then you just be like 7/7 whatever, or even like 7/7/9.
You go 7 and then you're 7, and then next turn you just go 8/8/8, right?
Yeah.
There's a ton of pressure here, and everything is 7K, right?
Yeah.
7K is the new 7K. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a great stat line.
Yeah,
for anything that's not red.
Yeah, and it's kind of a glimpse into like how strong Roger's going to be, because the 7K, if this card brings this deck into the meta, into the format, right? Just imagine how strong Roger's going to be.
Dude, Roger's busted. I can't think of an effect that would make him fair except for him starting at 10 and working his way to 0.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that would make sense.
Like Dawn -4, this character can now attack, or something like that.
Literally,
right?
It's got to be like this, because it's just,
Yeah, but mainly, this is obviously the ideal card you want to mulligan for in pretty much most matchups. You want to hit a ramp card, and then you want to hit deck. It can sometimes seem hard, but again, pudding fixes a lot of those problems. Initially, Kata was in this slot, but we determined it was a little too slow for the meta.
8 Kata?
Yeah, 8 cost Kata. And don't get me wrong, it's a crazy
great card.
Great card, purple card, but being a 4-life leader, and we want to take more of an aggro route, right? And pudding just help maintaining that Dawn while maintaining that aggro as well. 1 Nika, 110 cost.
Did this come up today?
It did not at all. It came up a lot in the past couple weeks. Testing against GP, it's really good. It can hit numbers. It can reset GP, right?
Yeah.
So if there's 6K or even another.
And you go set yourself behind him so no more Sanji pudding draws.
Yeah, exactly. The way I see this card, I like to read it. A lot of people read too much into this card, but the way I see it is essentially a Dawn -4, bottom deck your characters, and draw a card. You know what I mean? But in testing, it did come up a lot because it does reset Green Purple, and it resets this from their 7K and 6K leaders. So being able to swing 6,
and then force them into the
12 are really strong numbers, especially against decks that run Giant, right? Didn't come up today.
So does the Luffy say until your opponent's end of your opponent's turn?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So because Newgate says the start of your turn, I think. I don't think it falls off when you turn skip. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Newgate?
Yeah, 9 Newgate.
I knew. Well, they'd be different. The starters, the starters are all common in that way.
Yeah,
but it does work.
Yeah.
This was just Giant fodder today, but I would say it's pretty much a flex spot. When it comes to that, right? 3 Sanji, just goated card.
That card's goated.
I don't even gotta explain to it. Buggy matchup, this card carries.
Rest it, swing into him.
Yeah, Alvitas. Like if you want to defend 7 to 5. Please do so, right? Yeah. Just a very awesome, very consistent card. We'll consider bumping up to 4, but when you're in the 6-7 Dawn range, you want to play one of the other Luffys generally, right? Play out your breaks is kind of the mindset I always have. Keep the counter if you need it, right? Or if you don't need it, but just a very good card and solid card overall. And as far as the events go, we showed you the 4 searcher events. I don't have to explain this. Bandai, please don't ban this card. And then 2 lightnings. This is just help for the aggro matchup.
It's free though too, right? Like I mean, it's really just the cost of 1, but
yeah, it's the cost of 1. But you know, sometimes going second, if you're going second, oftentimes your opponent will pay a 4/6, right? A character 4/6 on 4, right? What are you gonna do on your 5 Don turn if Alucci plays a Kuzan on curve?
Yeah.
That's a big problem for this deck, any deck overall, right? So on 5 Don, you know, you can play Pudding for 3, you can play Lightning for 2, and then you ramp, and then you have an extra Don, and then next turn from 4 you go to 7, and you have more Don that you can apply pressure with Beer Luffy or with Secret Luffy or something like that, right? So again, any card that Don minuses 2 in this deck, as long as you have Pudding on the field, it'll ramp you. You don't need Pudding to win, but it just makes the deck so much more consistent and so much more stronger as the game goes on. If your opponent does not respect the Pudding, then in a lot of cases you can just run away with games.
Sure.
You know, but that's it.
Yeah, can you go ahead and show me, like, what are you looking for ideal hand? Like, what are you mulliganing for? What do we want to see? What's keeping?
In most matchups, you want to see your Beer Luffy, because 7k leader is OP, right? But you need a way to get there. So if you go first, obviously you want a ramper. So you want Zoro, you want Maria, you want Robin, right? A ramper and then Beer Luffy is generally what you want to see. To get you to that. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rampers. So in most cases, you're going to find one. You have searchers that can find in your first couple turns. And again, if you don't find a ramper, then you play Pudding. And with Pudding, let's say your next turn, you play a Zoro Juro, and you double ramp, right?
Yeah.
Because Zoro ramps you 1, and then you get a Don back from Pudding.
When the blue purple Luffy?
What's that?
Said what in the blue purple Luffy?
Yeah, what in the heli? What in the blue purple Luffy? No, this is a great line too, you know, playing Pudding and then playing Zoro, because even though if you don't have a play, Zoro's still a body that can swing, and you're a turn ahead, right?
Yeah.
So even though you're back because you didn't ramp immediately, you can catch back up the following turn by double ramping, right? And you can start to climb your way back up that way. Establish yourself as a 7k leader, oftentimes going to 1 life, because countering doesn't become that much of an issue, right? What a lot of players are really going to love about this, being a 7k leader, is you don't have to be that scared of Hody. You know? Hody sure can rest Don, but you can just 2k.
2k, yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? So anybody that hates Hody, definitely I would recommend consider playing this leader to get you to 7k. And Pudding to help you maintain that Don advantage.
Got it. And then, so what is the overall game plan? Like, how are we winning games? What are we going into there? Like, what's the plan? Like,
the plan is a ramp as soon as you can, and then game plan usually revolves around both 6-cost Luffys. These right here, and then after this, everything else kind of just falls into place, right? The game plan is being 7k leader as fast and consistent as possible, and if you can't be 7k, the game plan is to hit for 7s as much and as consistently as possible. Whether it's Sanji, whether it's Luffy, something like that.
So with 7k leader 2, are you just protecting board? Do you because obviously I think that you usually, some people have resorted to starving black purple Luffy, and so they so that way they have to, because you're picking at board or picking at you, and the more cards you take, you're just going to be 7, so it's kind of like same thing with like Eustace, right? Like you're going to be a stronger leader in the end game, so like you save your counter for then when you get the most value out of it.
Exactly.
Are you genuinely usually just protecting your board because like that's typically what people go after, or how are you?
Yeah, I only really protect these right here. My important, I would call them game closers, right? If they swing a 7k Sanji, I'm more likely consider giving this up depending on the board state. But more than often, these have continuous value throughout the whole game. Sanji's obviously on play, and once he's played, he's obviously 7k is an awesome number, but kind of loses its value after that, while these maintain its value. And that's why we decided, we were playing 3 of these initially, but we decided to go 4 because if we do get starved, then we'll just take our own life.
Yeah.
You know, and then the 2 active
and
Dawn.
And you get full value too, yeah.
Yeah, the 2 active Dawn, we can use it again to either Dawn later or attach it again to swing again. So oftentimes, if people are going to starve me, then I just get to swing twice with this card.
Yep.
And then the pressure's on them. And then again with Pudding, you get a Dawn back, which helps you giant a lot more comfortably, whether you're at 6, 7, 8, 9 Don. Help you snowball to get to that 10 Don advantage, where you can just Don -1 from a Sanji, Don -1 from a 9 cost Luffy, and still be able to buff your leader to 7k, and still be able to cast Gum Gum Giant, and then stay at 10 the following turn.
Got it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Any shout outs?
Shout out Google Hobby, our local LCS. Shout out Justin. Shout out Peter. Shout out Pac-Man for the special. Shout out Vampyr Gaming.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, congrats once again, and thank you so much.
Thank you.